How's it going, everybody? This is Freedom's 5th video in the Rescue to Stardom series. In this video, we're going to saddle him for the first time. If you watched my last video, we did the Jeffries method on him and prepared him for have things on his back and hold his feet. And this is going to show how confident this builds your horse up and prepares him for the situation. You know, I bring the pad up to him, I let him sniff it, I let him see it, but then I put it on his back. I throw it up there with confidence. I don't try to sneak it on his back. I'm not going to worry about him moving out, because if I expect him to fail, he'll fail. So I expect him to stand there and to act like he's had this done every day of his life. And you can see where it pays off. This was a little bit of a spooky horse when he came to me. He kind of, was a little reactive. So, this shows how good, good groundworks can pay off. I did spend a lot of time on groundworks of this horse because there's a groundwork competition element to the Rescue to Stardom challenge. So, usually I'm riding my colts in the first 5 days, but he had a whole month of groundworks, but it really paid off. So, that pad, you can see I did it from both sides. I prepped him up. I put it up his neck, around his hind end, did it from both sides. So, please repeat that. Remember both sides, because a balanced horse is a better horse. The next thing is, of course, is the saddle. I do the same process. I let him sniff it, let him touch it, and then I toss that saddle up there. I don't lay it up there. I don't lay it up like, trying to handle a stick of dynamite. Do it with confidence. You see me pat it and, rock it back and forth. I don't want there to be any holes. If there's going to be holes, I want him to show me. If this horse would scoot out and drop my saddle to the ground, that's fine. I'm going to disengage his hind end, bring him to a stop, and repeat the process. This is not something that you want to try and not to make him fail. You want to test to make sure he won't fail. So you can see I throw it up there several times. Make sure that he can hold his feet, because I don't want to be saddling this horse for the rest of his life, having him dance around. I want to make sure he can stand still. And the next time or the next step in this would be to tie him and saddle him. But I don't tie him the first time I saddle him. I don't want him to feel stuck. I want him to have the option of freedom and work with that to let him make the right choice to hold his feet. So of course I do it from both sides, because the balanced horse is a better horse. And you can see me adjust that saddle, make sure it fits. And the next thing would be the cinch. Make sure you have good equipment here, but don't use a saddle that you're afraid is going to hit the ground, because you don't want to sacrifice his success on worrying about your saddle hitting the ground. So when I reach under this horse, I'm going to be careful. I've done a lot of desensitization with Freedom. I have girthed him up with ropes and latigos, just not with a cinch on a saddle. So, he has been prepared for this, but at the same time, I'm going to draw it and release it. I don't let it sit on there very long. I let him have the option to move out if he wants to. This is just, the first time that he's had something drawn up on his belly as wide as a girth. So don't go just drawing it tight and cinching it up. Give him the chance to be successful and show it to him. So you see me draw it and release it a couple of times there. This time I'm going to let it sit a little tight. And you can see him kind of arch up there, and he's a little uncomfortable, but that's okay. Give him a chance to feel it. Don't just draw it tight and expect him to know it. You see me adjust my cinch here. I noticed my cinch was favoring the offside a little bit, so I wanted to make sure that I drew it up and had it centered on the horse, because you want to make sure that your equipment fits that horse, because you wouldn't want to gall him or have that saddle fall underneath him to have a failure on your first try. Avoid that. Prepare, make sure that it's right, and that things aren't going to fall apart for you. So this time I'm actually going to draw it tight. So I'm going to run the girth through the hole in the latigo and let it sit on him. And if my horse would explode and run out from here and go to bucking, I would just get him moving forward in a lunge circle. This is a point where you're going to commit and let that horse experience the saddle. Freedom knows to hold his feet, so I'm going to drive him out. And you can see he's not quite confident. This is the first time he's ever had something on his back in motion. So, I'm just working to get him moving forward. Motion's our friend here. You don't want your horse to be sticky, but you don't want your horse to be loose and running around and bucking. So your whole goal is to put him in a lunge circle, to be moving forward confidently with a bent rib cage and in a consistent motion. So here he's pulling on me and he's swinging his hind end out a little bit. You can see his back's a little arched. This is all acceptable. This is the first time that he's experienced this, and he has to experience this for himself. I can't help him through it. The only thing I can do is keep moving him forward. So I'm going to continue in the circle. I usually start to the left because most horses favor the left circle. And you can see him change right there. That is really good. He's slowed down. He's moving more consistently. There's some slack in the line. His rib cage and neck are bent. That's a lot better. He has been very prepared for this, and he is a really nice horse. So he really learns quickly. I expected this to go about the way it did. Your horse may not have the same experience. It doesn't mean that you did the wrong job or he's a bad horse. But just, put him in enough circles that he's moving forward confidently and in a nice, soft manner. You can see him licking his lips there when he stopped. That was really good. So, of course, I'm going to send him the other way because we want to balance him out. You may do 5, 10, 15 circles. It doesn't matter as long as you can get him to have confident, soft, bent motion. That's what you want. So this is really good. I really like how Freedom has learned to take and process information and accept it. It's all going to pay off later, and you'll see that when we take him out on the trails and we go through some of the challenges that we do. How he can experience stress but know to hold himself together. So very good. Right now I'm just putting him through my basic lunge, moving his shoulders, moving his hips, expecting him to bend his body, expecting him to stop by moving out his hind end. And he's doing all that very well. So this is a very good example of a solid horse taking the saddle for the first time. So very good. Now what I would do is I'd walk up, show him that he did a good job, give him some reward, and then go into basic desensitization with him with the rope. I'm just going through what we do every day with him with the rope, just touching all 4 legs, coming up over the hind end. I want to make sure I come across that saddle because that's going to be the first time that he's felt that or he hears that sound. So, as long as he stands, we move on. If he would show some stress to that, then I would go back and do it again. And of course we do both sides. So this is a very good example of how you want your first saddling to go. I split usually the Jeffrey's method, the saddling and the first ride in 3 days. Not that it can't be all done in one day, but in my training process, I like to slow it down, let a horse achieve a goal, and then move on. You can see the last thing I do here is I move his hips, I move his shoulders. I do both sides, of course. And I'm just making sure that all the things we've learned in our groundworks is there with the saddle on. Test for the holes. Don't try to avoid failure. Try to make sure that there is no failure in the process. So he did a great job. The next video that I'll be posting will be his first ride. It went very well. He is a super solid horse. Don't forget to vote for him on the Rescue to Stardom Facebook page.